Well, hey there, friend, and welcome back for another episode of the Your.Hair.Mentor podcast, where I'm your host and your hair mentor, Crystal Green. And I invite you to come take a listen to the top leaders and thinkers and experts and innovators in the beauty industry as they share their stories of triumph and struggles and success in creating their businesses behind the chair. I hope you enjoy these episodes just as much as I did recording them. See you on the inside, friend. Well, let's just go ahead and jump on in there, Monaé. And why don't we start by you just giving me a little introduction of like who you are, and then we'll talk about what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. My name is Monaé Everett. I'm a celebrity hairstylist, author, and educator, and I'm also the founder of Texture Style Awards, the first and only award show created to celebrate all four hair textures and the artists who slay them. And I am so happy to be here with you today, Crystal.
Yay! Oh, thank you. I am happy to have you here too. And I'm sad that I just heard about the Texture Style Awards. I'm like, how has this been not on my radar before? Because this sounds so cool. Can you break down for me really quick the four different hair textures for anyone that doesn't know that's listening?
Absolutely. So I subscribe to the belief that everybody is born with at least one of these four hair textures: straight hair, wavy hair, curly hair, and coily hair. Straight hair is like no discernible curl pattern, just a little uh. Wavy hair is when we start to get in that S pattern. Curly hair is when it starts to spiral, and coily is when those spirals get really small or maybe have a Z pattern.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Thank you for defining that. I feel like we all can kind of have a slightly different definition of like what coily is versus curly or wavy or swavy and all these different things. So I love that. So then the Texture Style Awards celebrates everything from the stick straight hair to the very tightly, what would you call it, kinked? Or what's the appropriate term there for that?
Slightly coily hair.
Slightly coily. Okay, so the tightly coiled hair all the way to the like relaxed, super straight hair.
Yeah, and I always like to shout out to the super straight hair, like the stereotypically Asian hair that is very thick, very coarse, very straight. You have to curl it with a pencil curler and a prayer. Uh, a lot of people think about straight hair and they think about easily pliable straight hair. And I'm like, that's not all straight hair. So it just goes to show how texture can vary in each of the four categories.
Absolutely. Yeah, that like very straight, very coarse hair is a whole nother animal in itself, right? If you've never worked with it before. So I think that's great that that's included as well. So I want to know, okay, first of all, what does it mean to be a celebrity stylist and how did you get there? And then I want to hear your story about your career and what led you to create something like the Texture Style Awards.
Oh, Crystal, I hope you have a few days today. So, what does it mean to be a celebrity hairstylist? That is really controversial. There's two meanings. One meaning is that most of the clients that you work with are celebrities, and the other meaning is that you are celebrated, so you won awards. And thankfully, I fall into both. The overwhelming majority of my clients are celebrities. If not, I'm doing advertisements for brands, and I have won multiple awards for my work as a hairstylist. So it's a really interesting thing. Some people will call themselves a celebrity stylist because they've worked with one or two popular people. But I'd like to think if you're calling yourself a celebrity hairstylist, you're working with well-respected actors, actresses, musicians, and people in the arts. Not just someone who's worked with one or two here or there, but there's always room to grow and learn more and work with different types of celebrities. I think your next question was, how did I get into this industry?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh-wee. So I went to cosmetology school in my senior year in high school, my freshman year in college. I was extremely opinionated, and everybody used to say, if you can't do better, you shouldn't say anything. And I was like, no, I think with a little bit of training, I'll be able to do better. Remember back in the day, we didn't have social media, we didn't have this red carpet. So for me to sit around and talk about people's hair and makeup was like not the normal conversation that it is today. So I thought I would just do hair and stuff to pay my way through college. And I remember my senior year in college, after I was licensed, I had been working in a salon for a few years. A lady that I was working with told me about celebrity styling and working on photo shoots. And I was so silly. I knew nothing at all about this. I really thought that the ladies that I saw, like on the cover of Harper's Bazaar or Essence, I really thought they got their hair done the day before. And then they went to the shoot, put on some lipstick, and took the picture. I had no idea it was this entire world. So she started telling me about her adventures into celebrity styling and how it didn't work out. And I was like, I think it could work out for me. Like, and I put my heart and soul behind it. And I always tell people I ran full force in the wrong direction in the beginning, just full speed ahead. So I had to unlearn a lot of things and really get myself together to get on the right track.
Yeah, wow. So, do you mind if I ask what year it was that you started your career as a hairstylist?
2000.
Okay, I was right there with you. I started in 2001. It resonates with me the story that like social media wasn't a thing yet. I too had no idea how many options there were for hairstylists, you know? I was like, yeah, what, like movies and stuff like that? I thought they did their own hair. Like even worse, right? So, yeah, yeah, I know, right? It blows my mind now to think of how much easier information is to attain these days for these young people in beauty school that can see all of the paths set before them. We were just kind of like out in the wide open guessing.
Yeah, exactly. And so I worked with my lady and I did a whole class on all the different things you can do with a cosmetology license that I didn't know. And the reason why we are unique saying that we didn't know is because before us, the generations before us, a lot of times celebrities were taking their local hairstylists with them. So it's not as though they were pursuing this either. A lot of times they were falling into it. Our generation learned that this is something you could do, but there was no path set aside. So I remember praying to God because when I tell you I fell multiple times, I mean, I fell hard and fast and heavy. And I remember praying to God, like, okay, if you let me figure this out, I will teach other artists how to do this. So when I wrote my second book, Get Out of Your Own Way, I include a lot of lessons I learned, of course, anecdotes to help people along the way, but really helping artists to move in the right direction and get their work together, get their selves together, get their mental together to figure out the right people to reach out to go in the right direction. I always say when you take off full speed in the wrong direction, you're really tired when you start running, only to realize now you got to go that way.
Mm, yes. It's so, is your book then geared towards hairstylists that are pursuing a career as celebrity stylists?
Absolutely. So my first book, Stunning Braids, was just 25 different how-to hairstyles, including braids. And my second book, Get Out of Your Own Way, 25 insider tips for booking celebrity hairstyling clients. I feel like we're always left out. I feel like makeup always get loved. There's all of these books for them. Everyone can speak to makeup. And then with hair, they're like, I don't know, work in a salon. And baby, let me tell you, that's the first step to that is not the right answer if you want to pursue session work or working with celebrities. It's not going to be dependent on working in a salon.
Yeah, I could see that. So, who was your first like breakthrough celebrity client that you had?
So the cool thing about what I do is every time you do something, you think it can't get better, and it does get better. I would say when I really felt like I was going somewhere was like Angie Martinez for the inauguration of Barack Obama. I did her. And now I run into her all the time. I don't know, maybe like, or when I did a Harper's Bazaar editorial spread, I did the background people and they were going to be shot with Michelle Obama because I started my career in the DC area. So, a lot of those bookings were that way. I can't even really think of like when I started really moving along, but I know I just could not believe that I was doing, someone associated with the president. So those were major moves. I don't know. You got me thinking hard. Like, I don't know. At the end of the interview, I'll come back to something.
Right. Yeah. If it strikes you, just blurt it out. So I'm curious too, like when you decided to go down that road and be a celebrity stylist, did you stop working behind the chair, like in a salon, or what did that look like?
Oh, great question. So for many years, I was working in the salon, and I was on my off day, I was doing photo shoots or calling in sick and, going to New York to do photo shoots and things of that nature. I even became a salon manager because remember I told you running full speed in the wrong direction? I really was under the impression that if I became a salon manager, then someone would come and see me and then I would become a celebrity here. So that is incorrect. Incorrect. I even went on to become a hair color brand educator, and I really thought I was going to walk in and take over this hair color brand. Can I tell you something? That was incorrect as well. Incorrect. So for years, I was doing these things, but that hair color company decided to lay off probably 60% of the people it had just hired in the last 6 months. And I happened to be one of those people. So the great part was that I got a severance. And so what would happen is they are too scared to send you out. You got to keep working for 9 months, but they don't want to send you anywhere. So I just collected a check for 9 months. So I would do all of these different photo shoots and events, and I would go back and forth to New York. And then I said, I really wanted to move to New York when I graduated college. I got scared. I got a good boyfriend. I got a good apartment. I got a good job. So I was too scared to leave. And then, everything fell apart at the same time, which is God's way of saying, hey, let me move this out your way and give you something better. So I decided to move to New York. And when I moved to New York, my personal opinion was I could stay in the DC area and work in a salon. And I didn't want to work in a salon in the New York area. So I had not worked in a salon in almost 15 years.
Wow.
Yes, I was like, I can stay home and do that. If I go to New York, I want to do the big things. I want to do the celebrities, the events. Sometimes I'll work with a brand and we'll have a salon day, and that keeps me held over for a year or two from missing a salon. Just one long day of that push and pull of salon life, and I'm like, not going back.
Yeah, yeah. So then I would imagine predominantly you're just styling hair then.
Yeah.
Do you miss anything in like do you miss doing colors or like anything else that you used to specialize in?
Yes, I'm an American board certified hair colorist, which at the time is the highest certification one could have in hair color. And I loved it. And it was really difficult for me to give that up. And I kept trying to think I was going to reshape the wheel by being a colorist on set. Ma'am, you're not. You're just not. However, I will say right before this interview, I was discussing with a brand, an ad campaign that I'm shooting, and we had to discuss how the color was going to get done. And it was like, I'm like, I could do the color, but I can't do it in the parameters that we have set aside. So I miss color. I especially miss color when I see people and it's not done right.
Mm-hmm.
Really miss it. Um, but I love the final steps and the final images. And I love the political statements I've been able to make by doing set hair and doing celebrities for red carpets. Um, one of the first celebs I worked with continuously, like for years, was Dominique Fishback. And she made a lot of political statements on the red carpet by going down the red carpet with her naturally coily hair. And it was almost unheard of years ago. Now it's become more normal for celebrities to wear curly hair or natural coily hair. And, it was great when the magazines would reach out and talk to me about like, oh my gosh, how did you decide this look, or this is so elaborate, we're not used to these things. Like right now we have oh my god, I forgot the name of the show, but they have all of these really elaborate is a list. I can't pronounce it. But Charlotte is one of the shows, and they
Okay.
have all of these big elaborate Elizabeth, and
Oh, Elizabethan?
there you go, what you said. They have those beautiful styles, but before 5 years ago, that wasn't a thing. So when I was sending ladies down the red carpet with natural hairstyles, it was definitely eye catching. So I love styling all hair. I love big flowy hair. I love updos. I love down styles. But I do love when artists decide to use their art to make statements. So hence Texture Style Awards.
Yes, which was going to be my next question. So I'm imagining your career is like, okay, so behind the chair is not working for me. I'm going to move to New York and I'm going to do this behind the scenes editorial session work kind of stuff and kind of make a name for myself. At what point did Texture Style Awards become an idea? Because I'm sure it was an idea for a while because it before it came into fruition, right?
Absolutely. So when I moved to New York, the very liberal place that New York is supposed to be, I found out it is not as liberal as they would like for us to believe. It is not the world we imagine it to be. And I started experiencing racism and misogyny. And I became outspoken about it. And I learned that a lot of people chose not to say things for specific reasons. So I would end up in like Harper's Bazaar or O Magazine or Essence or something, giving my opinion about the state of the beauty industry. And I was even taken to New Zealand to work on a movie set because they didn't have anybody that could do curly or coily hair. So I come back from New Zealand, and shortly thereafter, the whole world gets put on punishment. Remember, COVID shut down, we didn't know it was possible. And the world had to pay attention to how the world is not the rainbows and sunshine we have pretended it is. So I had to say, okay, a lack of diversity and inclusion is really being brought to the forefront. Monet, you've had a lot to say for the past few years, but you've just given opinions. So what are you going to do about it? What changes are you going to make? And what I decided was, yes, I want to live in a world where any person can sit down in a hairstylist chair and have any texture of hairstyle. How can I make this change? Well, let's gamify it because hairstylists are competitive. So we'll make it competitive. We'll make it so that you're able to enter different entries of your work and you're able to help move beyond the chair. You're able to get the opportunities you've been looking for. You're able to increase your clientele. But then the question was, okay, Monet, if you make a competition, that's great. But a lot of people don't know how to do different hair textures. What are you going to do about that? So I created the Texture Education Series, which precedes the Texture Style Awards, where I do classes on each of the individual four hair textures, showing how to care for and style each hair texture for photos.
Oh, I did not know that about you. I love that. So it's like you were presenting a problem, right? Like bringing attention to the problem. Like we need more diversity in hair and creating a space for that to happen, but then also giving people the tools to get there.
Yeah, and I always say Texture Style Awards has octopus legs because that's on the forefront. But can I tell you what's on the back end of it?
Oh, yeah.
So on the back end of it, we have stylists that feel there are only certain stylists who are getting opportunities. For whatever the reason is, there are stylists that believe they just don't have the opportunities. So I'm helping to create these opportunities for you. The way that one would be able to work with brands, be an educator, work with celebrities is if they're featured in the media. I'm cutting straight to the chase. This is how you get those big jobs. But how do you get featured in the media? You have to do something newsworthy, like maybe win a hair competition. So we have amazing sponsors, including media sponsors, where all of the winners will be interviewed on different podcasts, different magazines, and different shows. That is going to help to launch your career. Winning Texture Style Awards is going to be life changing. We're going to give you thousands in products and tools to help you take care of your existing or new clientele and get you featured all over the country. That's going to help to launch your career.
Wow. I didn't even consider that. So it's almost like a feeder system for the next generation of hairstylists that want to be like you.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm helping them work beyond the chair. That is my life's goal. On my gravestone is going to say that Monaé Everett helped hairstylists, increase their lives and do better things with their career. And that's my goal. So everybody doesn't have to want to be a celebrity stylist. Maybe you want to be a recognized influencer. Maybe you want to be an educator. Maybe you just want to be really popular in your salon. Maybe you want to be the go-to, wavy hairstylist in your city. There's room for all of us to grow. I too see a lot of the same artists being featured, and I know that there's room. So, I created this competition. We have 24 amazing superstar judges that I help you get your work in front of. When they're judging your entries, it's completely anonymous. They won't know it's yours. But when we go to the second round of public judging, you're going to share your entry to get people to vote. And the judges are going to say, "Oh, I love that. Oh, you did that style?" Then when you come to New York for the live ceremony on August 13th, now you've got conversation and you're going to be like, "Monaé, put me in this place. All of these amazing people know me. The brands are clamoring for me. They're booking me for jobs. I'm making more money. Shout out to Texture Style Awards." And I'm going to be like,
Oh my gosh, that's even more involved than I thought it was.
it is very involved. It is very involved. So I get really excited telling people about it because sometimes they don't hear all of the steps. But I'm like, June 12th, we have a coily hair class that you can attend live in New York or watch virtually. We have entries open through June 30th. We have 10 different categories. We got a lot. Kristen, don't let me take over your show. I like
No, that's why we're here, right? Because I'm learning about you and sharing about what you're doing. So I love all of it. Bring it on, sister. I want to hear how many people are applying at the beginning of the Texture Style Awards. Like, I'm curious, do you have a cap or like a roundabout number? And then when you get down to the final round where you said it's like live in New York, how many participants are in at that point?
Okay, so in 2021, when we did it the first time completely virtually, we had 350 entries, and I was like so excited. I wish that everybody didn't wait till the last minute to enter because y'all were giving me a heart attack, but I digress. And so we had the 20 celebrity judges to vote. And let me drop some names like Confessions of a Hairstylist, Rebecca Taylor, Color King, Janelle Seeley Smith, Weed Ad artist, Curls artist, Bioionic artist. We have so many amazing judges. So they do round one, and then we have the public voting. We had 27,000 public votes in 2021. People cared about texture representation. And I'm going to just take a moment to make it clear to everyone that the name, and you pronounced it right, is Texture Style Awards. There's no D after texture. It's not a fancy way of saying curly and coily hair. This show is for all four hair textures. So the artists who went through did amazing. They were featured everywhere. Like I said, we had 27,000 votes. So this year I have increased the categories. So the categories are straight hair, wavy hair, curly hair, and coily hair. So you can have those four textures and an up style, and that's four categories, or a down style, and that's four categories. So curly up style or straight hair down style. And then we created two categories for cosmetology students or some hair enthusiast who is not a professional. So we have up style category and down style category. And you're a student, literally, if you're in cosmetology or an apprentice, or if you're working on sets and not licensed, or even if you've been working as a licensed hairstylist for under 2 years.
Wow.
This time, I need to have at least 500 entries. Then we're going to break it down. So the judges will break it down to the top 5 in each category. Then we're going to, for the live show, have the top 3, and then we'll see who wins from there.
Oh my gosh, how exciting. Ooh.
Yeah, I wish that my excitement and my understanding of work aligned. So they don't, but yeah, a lot of work, but I'm excited about it and I'm willing to do the work to make the changes in this industry.
That's fantastic. So I'm curious, at the time of this recording, we're about 30 days out from the end of the entry period, right? Have you gotten close to the 500 mark yet?
Need more stylists to enter. Stop waiting until the last second. I like to call this a semi-professional competition because you don't have to hire a photographer. You can use your smartphone and take your own images of your work. Just put your model in front of a solid, non-distracting background. So that's a white wall, a gray wall, a brick wall, and take images of your work and upload them to Texture Style Awards. Don't wait until the last moment. Upload, upload, upload. My sponsors are giving away thousands in prizes: Weed Ag, Wet Brush, Pearls, Moroccan Oil, Biolodge, Myavana. We have amazing, amazing, amazing sponsors. They're also giving you private event invitations. They will also give you tickets to a free class, and they will give you one-on-one mentorship. So this is going to be life changing. And that's aside from getting featured on the different podcasts and magazines.
Yeah, I don't see why anyone wouldn't want to participate.
Yeah, and we make it so easily accessible. It's only $30 per entry, unlike some of the other shows that are multiple times that amount. But that is okay. Come show your work, show people why they need to come to you, show brands why they need to pay attention to you, and let me help you change your life.
Mm, love it. Monet, before we started recording, you mentioned that you're going to be at the IBS show in Vegas. Tell me what your involvement is there.
So I am headlining IBS Vegas. I do a lot of different things with them. So I'll have a stage show showing festival styles. I'll also have 3 classrooms. I am leading a panel discussion on breaking barriers, diversity and inclusion conversation. I was a part of the pavilion panel, the Powerhouse Pavilion, where we are drawing attention to the work of African Americans in beauty, and IBS has done a great job of showcasing that. So I am all about diversity and inclusion. There's room for all of us to learn and grow.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be a good space to share about the Texture Style Awards too, right?
Absolutely. And I can't wait to see. I'm going to give your listeners a hint on the most underrepresented category. Believe it or not, it is wavy hair.
Hmm.
It is the most underrepresented category. So you can have hair that starts at any texture. We only judge how it ends. So let's say you start off with a straight hair model. If you wave her hair, she's now in the wavy category. If you start off with a coily hair model and you straighten and wave her hair, she's now in the wavy category, up style or down style. So we make it really easy. We make it really simple. You just go to texturestyleawards.com. But remember, don't skip the wavy category. That's that S curl, the wavy category.
My personal favorite, but probably because I kind of live in a bit of a wave myself, so I know it well.
Exactly. Very nice. And I would love to see some beautiful wavy up styles. In 2021, the artist that won Wave created some beautiful waves on long hair, and it was just exceptionally well done. She shot it in her salon on a solid background, and she won.
That's awesome. I wonder if a barrier for a lot of people is that they worry they can't capture a good enough photo because that is definitely a skill set that, there's like the haves and the have nots these days. Have you addressed that at all with any of your followers and done like a workshop for photo stuff at all?
Yeah, so the workshops that I'm doing on each texture, there's a VIP class where if you come in person, you stay for the VIP, and I go through different settings that you can use on your iPhone and how to pose the model. And I even work just a little bit showing artists how they can work with a photographer if they so desire to do a photo shoot. But you're exactly right. It can be a little daunting. Some easy tips are you're going to want to put your model away from the light. So you stand where the light is and allow the light to shine on your model when you take your photos. You're also going to want to, if you're using an iPhone, shoot in RAW. If you go in your settings, you can shoot in RAW when you take your images. I always give some little tips are don't shoot just the back of the head. Give a little bit of a profile. We always want to see your beautiful model's face. And it's just a human desire to want to see that. And now is a good time to call out. I am the founder of Texture Style Awards. I am not a judge. I believe in keeping everything super fair. We have 24 celebrity judges, and then we have open public judging. But yes, I'm so happy you asked that. So if you're in New York, come to the June 12th coily hair class, and we'll even go over how to take your own images. If you cannot come in person, you can attend the virtual class in the morning. So you just go to texturestyleawards.com/classes to sign up.
Wonderful. I love that you're doing that because I know I discovered, like, when all of a sudden we had to take photos of hair just for our behind the chair purposes, a lot of the times the hair in person, like, I personally like a little bit of like functional frizz with all of my curls and waves and coils. And I just love that look personally, and my clients would like it. But then I would take a photo of it and I'm like, oh, this looks like garbage in a photo, right? So I had to learn to alter the way I was going to finish the hair if I was going to photograph it. Does that make sense?
Finishing is so important. It absolutely makes sense. So I have the Monaé Life Academy, and that's where I teach artists who want to do like I do, and they want to do photo shoots, and they want to do events, and they want to work with celebrities. And we really focus on those differences. And I always tell an artist one thing for sure, because styling for photos and styling for a salon are so different. You know that you need help with finishing when you go to take the picture and you're like, oh, no, 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 not this angle. Oh, no, 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 not this angle. No, 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 it just doesn't look the same. Sometimes that can be using the wrong products or the wrong product application, or quite literally, you can be standing too close to your work, can't really see it. You got to step back. So yeah, I've been doing this a really long time, and you better believe I'm still learning, weekly new things, because at the rate that these cameras are increasing, believe it or not, our skill have to increase as well. And it's not about just if you're taking a photo. When you get done, your client goes and takes a selfie and they put up the photo. And that's the worst thing, when you think you did a great job and they put up the photo and you're like, oh my God. And they're tagging you like crazy with big holes in the hair and it's unbalanced. And you're like, untag me, please. Please don't tell anybody I did. It looked nice before you left.
Right. Like, please put a disclaimer on that video or that picture.
Like, put a disclaimer that you ran your hands through it or got caught in a windstorm or something. I don't remember it looking that way.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, that was a quite a learning curve for me in the salon. So I'm sure that I'm not alone in that, and that a lot of people would like to have the guidance to, if they're, especially if they're trying to step into any sort of editorial work or anything like that, they have to understand the difference between the finish that someone would want naturally in the salon versus on camera, right?
So true. And a lot of hairstylists get caught up in the good enough. And I like to call them out for that, because, yeah, it might be good enough for that client, but was it good enough for you? We're in a day where people want to increase their prices and they want to, make their rent in one day off of one client. Okay, if you're able to do that, wonderful. But was the work good enough for that, for what you're demanding? It do in your heart, do you feel like it looks great? Not just the color, not just the cut, but the finish. Are you able to take a few extra minutes to get it done? So once you learn how to do it, then you learn how to become more efficient and do it faster.
Yes, exactly. Mm,
Questions, right? Yeah.
yes. So, Monet, I'm curious, do you have a lineup of styling products that are like your favorite to use? Do you have separate ones for different textures of hair? Like, what are you using?
So overall, I use the same products, period. I do have some specialized products. So Weed Ad, if you've been following my career for the past probably 5 or 6 years, I've been shouting them out in the press all the time. I am beyond thrilled that they are our main sponsor, because I love Weed Ad for curly hair especially. And the reason why I love them is because I don't always have to start with the hair soaking wet. So if you're at home in the shower or in a salon, you start soaking wet, but not on set. So I'm a huge fan of them. I'm also a huge fan of Orbe. I use them quite often. What else is another go-to? Moroccan oil. They are a go-to. It's like I am so blessed to work with so many different products. So trying to remember what are my super go-tos.
Right.
Aquage Beyond Shine. I think every single client I ever touch gets that.
That's a good old standby.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. What do you think it is about the Weed Odd products that allows you to have them on not soaking wet hair? I'm curious about that.
don't know. I wish I could give you like this great answer, but I think they actually create styling products instead of just setting products. So anytime we are putting a hair into a specific pattern, we have to set it that way, whether you're straightening it or you're curling it with a curling iron or you're setting the natural curl. And I think that a lot of product lines rely on that set and rely on you locking in the moisture, the water. So we're
Mhm.
locking it in with those products. And I guess WeDad has figured out a way to add moisture without you solely using the water from a soaking wet head. Like I can douse it with a little bit of water or mist it with a little bit of water and just go from there. And that's amazing to me because I have so many curly hair products I've used and like, okay, when her hair was soaking wet, it was amazing. And then I go to touch it up and we won't call it amazing anymore.
Interesting. That's almost like a selling point for me right there. And now I'm like, oh, I got to try those products because as much as I love curly, wavy, coily hair, I don't love the soaking wet application just because it takes so much more time, really. And like practicality wise, like I am not going to do that on my hair. So I'm like a major minimalist personally. And I tend to be that way behind the chair too. So the idea of having a product that you could use on like not crazy soaking wet hair sounds pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in total agreement. I'm trying to think of other stuff I like. It's a 10. I use them pretty often. Yeah, those are the brands that are coming to mind.
Mm-hmm. Which is nothing like shocking. Those are great brands that have been around forever, that are like standard kind of quality brands everyone can know and trust. And so then it's like easy to say, okay, well, it's not necessarily just the product that you're using. Like you're using a tool, but it's the techniques that you have that truly make things look so wonderful and editorial and perfect.
Yeah, it's taking the time. I think I heard recently someone said mastering something is doing it repeatedly until you can't get it wrong. Like one day you'll just work and it feels like you're doing the same thing you've been doing that was maybe hit or miss. And then one day you're not missing anymore. You're hitting it every time.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, I know you're so busy doing all these things. Do you still have like a clientele of celebrities that you style regularly, or is it kind of more intermittent these days?
Honestly, it is a little more intermittent, but I think that is also because of coming out of COVID. So, what seemed to have happened was things opened up, but it seems like everybody has moved more to the West Coast. There's just not as many in New York. And I'm still a New Yorker, but that's okay because it's opened up opportunity for me to be able to do things like this in education and doing advertisements and brand shoots and stuff like that. But this month alone, I've worked with um, Brittany winner. Brittany Howard is a 5-time Grammy winner. I've worked with Kenya Moore from Real Housewives and someone else whose name just jumped out of my mouth. So there's still time. So that's the thing about being a celebrity hairstylist. A lot of times you're not working every single day. Most of the time you're not. That's one of the reasons why I pursued this because I was like, I am not a work every day type of person. I need my
Gotcha.
excuses to rest a little.
Yeah, yeah. I imagine you have times it's like feast or famine. You've got times where you're like highly asked to go do things, and then times where it kind of slows down.
Absolutely. And it's like if one person requests a day far away and you have nothing to do, let's say for 6 weeks, like on your calendar, if one person requests that day, you'll have 10 people request that day. And it's like, if there's 6 weeks that are available, they're like, no.
Well, it's probably because there's some event going on that they like all need to be done for too, right?
Oh, it will be multiple events all the same day.
Uh,
Oh, my baby, that's who I forgot. My baby Haley Kilgore. She's one of the stars on Ghost Book 3. So yeah, I do get to work with a lot of wonderful people, and I'm always excited when they think of me.
What is your favorite environment to work in? Like, is it a behind the scenes at like a red carpet kind of thing, or is it a movie set, or like a photo shoot for a magazine? Give me like your favorite situation.
I don't know that anybody has ever asked me that. Such a great question that I have to think on. I'm going to surprise myself. I think my favorite might be red carpet. and watch. It's like prom every time or a wedding every time. Like the excitement you have helping somebody get ready and when they're really happy. That might be one, but a close second would be a photo shoot where they like my ideas. And I'm specific because if it's a lifestyle shoot, sometimes they want to look like there was no hair and makeup involved. So I would say advertorials or something where I am able to use some of my creativity to make them look beautiful. And that does not mean that I want to, stick feathers on their head and spray paint them, but maybe I want to, change the length of their hair or do an up style or something. So when they're like, Monet, what you got? My type of shoot.
I would imagine that's probably kind of similar in a red carpet situation too. You probably get a little more creative leeway there, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Sometimes you have PR people standing over you for every single move that you make, and they're like, "This is the look. Keep it like this." Okay, so I'll tell you a funny story. This really happened to me, and I am not going to say this actress's name because it's highly likely you know her. So I was so excited. I was working on I guess I have to say a Nickelodeon event. And it was my first one. And let me tell you, you go through hell and high water to get those type of jobs because you're working with kids. And this was a superstar. And when I walked in, when she's on TV, she's very prim and proper. So when I walk in, she's like, "Hey, hey, hey, what's up?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay." She continued to speak. She's like, I want a ponytail and I want baby hair and I want beads and I want you to braid this way. And I'm like, okay, now I'm getting pumped, right? Because I've never seen you look this way. And I'm like Googling, like, no, there are no pictures. And she's like, no, that's what I want. So I talked to her and I'm like, okay, how about we just do a little bit of a ponytail with like a little lift in the front and some volume in the top. And she's like, I mean, I guess, but she's not happy about it, right? So then the producer walks in and was like, who gave you permission to do that? I'm shocked. She was contracted to wear her blonde long hair with a center part and straight down.
And she's trying to tell you to do something so different.
So crazy. I didn't even know that there was a such thing as being contracted to wear your hair a certain way. This went all the way to the top of Nickelodeon. A meeting was demanded that I had to overhear that they had about me. And I guess she really wanted to change her look. So she requested me because I was known for doing all these different type of styles and did not tell them. She was very nice. They never booked me for her again, but she even DMs me to this day and is like, that is the best I've ever looked.
Oh,
And
so you were able to keep the hairstyle then?
yes, they were not happy about it. So we were able to keep the ponytail. They maybe take the braids out of the side, keep the ponytail, but I just could not believe it. And that was a good foray into you would never really know people. So apparently that's how she really speaks. But when she goes in front of the camera, she speaks differently. This is how she relates. She really wanted the baby hair and the jewels. And I was like, so, but yeah, so I like when I'm able to include a little of my personality, but I've learned the hard way. You got to figure out who the client is. And apparently she was not the client.
That's a very good point, too, right? I
Mhm.
imagine that's the case with any sort of like production company. They've got a specific look they want that person to have, and so they're the ones making the calls, not the person you're actually doing the hair on. How weird is that for a hairstylist?
Well, this is what I tell people. So it's weird, but the client is the person who pays you. And people get real freaked out, like how weird that is. But I said, but what happens when mommy brings in her daughter? You're asking mommy how she wants to look. It's not just the age. You understand what mommy's paying. And
Very true.
if daughter keeps having opinions, at some point you say to mom, who should I listen to? And the mom tells you, okay, listen to her, or no, I said what I said.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing.
That's hilarious. Okay, one more question for you about the celebrity. Maybe one. Maybe I'll have another one. Do you have? I'm sure you have like people you love that you've worked with that are like amazing. But do you have like in your mind? There's like that one person that if they called you, you would like drop everything to go work for them.
There's so many that, I mean, because there's so many quote unquote celebrities. So I've had some amazingly wonderful experiences with multiple. I had an amazing time with Viola Davis. I feel like I had a time with her that left a lasting impact on my life. I had an amazing time with Mariah Carey. As I was doing her hair, she sat there and sang to me.
Oh,
Like wonderful. If I didn't sign that NDA, I would have so many more amazing things to say about her.
mm-hmm.
Um, I like my kids too, like Sophia Wiley. She's a Nickelodeon star. I always drop stuff for her because she's just such a pleasure to work with. And it's like, we like looking at the younger generation. It's like literally watching them grow up. So I can't help but to enjoy that with her, helping her find her looks. Or Layla DeLeon is one of I got a lot of favorites.
Yeah.
There's I don't have a lot of clients that can no longer reach me, put it that way. There are some who every time they call, I'm busy, but for the most part, I have a good clientele.
Gotcha. I love asking people that question that have like started their career as a hairstylist in whatever fashion that may be, and then have moved into some new aspect of their career, like education or something like that. Uh, because I'm curious, like if at some point, if your education stuff just skyrockets and takes off, like let's say texture style awards and your online education that foster into that end up taking all your time, are you going to give up being a celebrity stylist or do you think you'll try to do it forever?
I'll try to do. I mean, my goal, I want to do more public speaking on diversity and inclusion. So probably I'll have to start leaning towards it. Oh, I can't believe I just said that out loud.
It's
Um,
big, right? I know it's a weird thing for us to say.
Yeah, I love doing hair, but I have a client who's in her 70s, that I've been doing for 15 years, who I move hell and high water whenever she calls me. So I appreciate anybody who pours into me. And I think being a hairstylist has really afforded me the opportunity to learn things that I just didn't know were possible, because so many different people sit in your chair and you learn about their lives and they share different life lessons with you that have helped me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'd be curious to see what happens with you in the future then, right?
Oh, me too, Crystal. Me too.
Yeah. I want to know more about. So, when you talk about you want to share more information about diversity, I had a conversation with a gal about this a few episodes ago who is doing her part to teach about curl education and diversity. And she brought up something that I didn't even really understood that happened. And she said that a lot of hairstylists that don't have experience with coily and very curly textured hair, they're like scared to try because they're so afraid that they're going to offend someone with that hair. That's like they're so far removed, they don't understand how to serve that client, so they would just rather not even try. I don't have that experience. I feel like I was fortunate to grow up with people in my community and my family that have very curly textured hair. And so to me, like hair is hair. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to mess up on everyone's hair when I'm learning and I'm going to learn what works and doesn't work. And so it was a shock to me to hear that there's a lot of hairstylists out there that have this like fear around it.
Yeah.
And so I'm
Yeah,
curious, like, is that part of your conversation that you want to share as well? Is kind of maybe empowering people to want to educate themselves.
absolutely. And empowering also decision makers who hire these artists. If you work in a salon and you were scared to try new things, that is unfortunate. But my laser focus is, why do you have stylists in these well sought after positions working on movie sets, working on photo shoots, working on advertisements, and they can't style all hair textures? That is an embarrassment, in my opinion. Not an embarrassment that they not so much of an embarrassment that they can't learn, but why would you be hiring people and paying them top dollar when they are not qualified for a position. So that's when we know there's a deeper reason behind it. So when you push, you find out because these are the people they hang around with, these are the people they want to see, or maybe the people hiring don't know with what good looking hair is on curly and coily hair. So it really doesn't matter to them. If they
Interesting.
yeah, if they can't recognize beauty on curly and coily hair or darker skin, it means nothing at all to them.
Like they're just so narrow focused on what they think is things are supposed to look a certain way that it's just like noise. Like they don't even understand what's good and what's bad with it.
Exactly, exactly. I don't know, to make it super basic. If you think blue lipstick is horrible looking, you're not going to be able to see the difference between well done blue lipstick and messy blue lipstick because it's all ugly to you, you know?
Right. So then what's the logical step if there's like people that are hiring, right? The stylists that are not fully equipped. Like I've thought of things from different ways when it comes to education. Like do you start at the grassroots kind of thing and you empower the smaller people that should have the skills, or do you try to educate those above? I mean, I imagine you go from both angles, but like what's your angle with that?
I'm hitting everybody from every angle.
Get it.
Them all. I am hitting the hiring managers. I am hitting the stylists. I am hitting the cosmetology schools. Like I said, I've done work with Milady and I visit cosmetology schools like yourself. I'm hitting it from every angle because I say like this: if you go to my celebrity work, if you don't see celebrities with natural hair on the red carpet, if they're not covered in magazines, when I'm a young woman trying to decide if I want to go to cosmetology school and what is beautiful, if I don't see that, I assume I don't see it because it's not beautiful. So it's not even a thought process to try to learn it because clearly that's not a sought after look.
You could say that with anything in the beauty industry too, right? Is like it's kind of like whatever's trending we tend to focus on, but trends will shift and then we have to shift and we need a wide scope of skills and abilities to be able to navigate those trends. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
the unfortunate part is that very curly hair is just never really included in that shift.
Mm,
So that has, become the issue because where is that included? Where is it included that we love really curly or coily hair? Get what I
right.
mean? So it's just no way of telling people that this is what's beautiful. So I've even worked with like Amazon on some of their brands. Like, why do you have artists in here who are doing hair for photo shoots and they can't do anything past the wave, but they're making hundreds of dollars a day and representing your brand? Why?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
We educate them. I educate them. I show pictures. I talk about vocabulary. I help them with how to hire models, how to hire stylists, and what they're looking for.
That's awesome. Well, I think it's a good time for curly hair. I feel like more than ever, curly, naturally textured hair, whether it be the straight, very coarse hair or the very coily tight curls, like everything is kind of accepted these days. And like there's been like the curls are beautiful campaigns for everything, right? Like the curly girl method like blew up on the internet and everyone's like, oh my God, I have curly hair too. So curly hair is like glorified at the moment, right? But I think collectively we're realizing that hair doesn't just live in this like narrow scope of European textured level 4 to 8 hair, right? It's everything.
Exactly. And it's so funny, the term that you hear a lot of people saying, and they generally associate it with Black people, is going natural. And I'm like, no, women all over are sitting down and saying, I don't want to straighten my hair all the time. So I'm wearing a naturally curly or I'm allowing my natural texture to go through. And I'm like, i.e., going natural. We're all saying the same thing. Now we're fighting all of the heat damage and trying to see the texture we were born with.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely more education focused around that too, which I love. I personally enjoy people living in their natural textures, and I always have. I just love, like I said earlier, kind of like functional frizz is kind of my style personally. I kind of love like big, poofy, fun, like I love the word fluffy. I don't know if that's considered like good or a bad word for most people, but to me, I see it as like a good word, and like full and like voluminous and natural and just like wild kind of. I love all of that. And so the more people that want to live in their natural curls and discover like how comfortable they are with that and ways I can help them live in that feels really good. Although I'm talking like I'm still standing behind the chair. I actually just stopped doing hair behind the chair in April. I still haven't like come to terms with it, I think.
You're like the chair's on your spot. You may be back. You may
Yeah,
just
right.
every now and again. There you go.
Yeah, I'll probably have some like models come in occasionally for like educational stuff, but I'm reminiscing, I should say, on standing behind the chair and being able to help clients understand their natural textures and how to manage them at home. And I love all of that. And so I like that it's a popular topic these days.
It is, and I don't think it's ever going to go out of style. I think now it's all about figuring out how to work with the hair that God gave you.
And to love it.
Yes,
Whatever that may be.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, we're on that same page.
Mm-hmm.
And hair is hair. There's very little that's different between us. We need to stop separating and segregating.
Yes, yes. And I do think that that would help, like in the beauty schools, if there was more of an understanding about like how hair, period, functions, right? And like to me, I've always thought of it as if this hair is too springy and someone wants it to lay smoother, we need something with more weight on it. If this hair is too springy or too flat and you want it to be springier, then you need something with more polymers on it. And just keep it simple, right? It's a simple discussion, but those like basic understandings are not discussed in beauty school, and so then we just kind of get into these like cookie cutter processes and we don't know why we're doing things, so then things do seem scary.
So true. And then you're so right. Then they create this fear, and it's hard to step outside of that fear.
Yeah, well, I am excited to see what you're doing now. I really wish I was going to the IBS show too, and I might have to get in on that press pass.
Swing by. We would love to see you. And if you come, make sure that you come up to me so we can talk because I'll be so excited to see you in person.
Likewise, yeah. Okay, well, before we wrap up here, I want to make sure I get the details correct with the Texture Style Awards because I know like that is like hot topic for you right now. So we've got entries open until the end of June.
June
Now,
3rd.
what do people have to do to enter?
All they need to do is take an image of their work and go to texturestyleawards.com and upload it. That's just that simple.
Seems too easy, my friend. And then from there, you've got a couple of rounds of judges making calls. And then the in person live award ceremony is August.
August 13th in New York City at the Aveda Arts and Sciences Institute.
Woo! Oh, man. And do you sell tickets for that show live too?
Absolutely. They will all be available at Texture Style Awards. Everything Texture Style Awards is at the texturestyleawards.com website or on Instagram at Texture Style Awards.
Awesome. And if anyone had any additional questions, what's the best way that they should contact you or anyone else about it?
Jump in those DMs, Texture Style Awards. Also, share this with your friends and your beauty pros. But listen, before I let you go, I go on a rant on every single podcast I do about the importance of when you care about something. The way that we show brands and other people we care about stuff is by buying tickets, supporting, and showing up, most importantly, but also liking and sharing. We can't keep telling brands in the beauty industry that we care about diversity and different curl types and we want more representation if we don't show up, buy tickets, like and share. So show up, buy tickets, like and share everything Texture Style Awards.
Love it so much. Well, I look forward to seeing how this progresses, and I'll know I'll be watching it. I'm like, should I enter? Maybe I should find a model. I don't know.
Please enter, please enter. And you'll get to share with your listeners that you enter. Imagine if you won. That would be so fantastic.
Right? Oh, girl, you got my wheels spinning.
It is great.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing all of this really inspiring stuff. I mean, you are a powerhouse, and I love hearing your story and can't see where you fly with all of this.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Crystal. I appreciate you.
Yes, thanks for being here, Monaé. Have a great one. All right, friend. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of the Your Hair Mentor podcast. It has been my pleasure to be here as your host. Again, my name is Crystal Green. And until next time, my friend, as I always love to say, have a wonderful hair day, and I'll see you then. Okay, bye.